You buy a commercial property, let's say it's $1 million commercial property. You'll then get $100,000 less 9750 back to you, and you'll have that as capital to start the improvements on the property. It's tax-free money, guys.
Welcome to another episode of We Fix Real Estate. Today we have Fred and Renee on the show talking about reverse offers and a bunch of other things, including how you can get some tax-free money if you're an investor through rebates.
Yeah. And by the way, it's tampering day in the National Football League. I love that. Just tamper away, and then you can sign on Wednesday. You don't think these guys have been talking agents to whomever on burner phones for the last month? Anyway, so go Birds.
Tampering
Day in the NFL. Yeah, look it up.
I will.
We're not a sports podcast, so just look it up. And Dallas Cowboy fans, just don't look. That's not worth it. Anyway, yeah, so we have been doing residential real estate for, I don't know, a decade now and giving out rebates. And God, I can't even calculate off the top of my head how much, but I'm sure it's in the millions at this point that we've rebated to people. We have a couple of builders in California who've used us, and they love it because when they buy a house through us, let's say, in a typical situation, the listing agent has already basically told us they're going to pay 2.5% because they're all paying 2.5%, or 2 or whatever, because number one, they tell the seller, nobody will buy the house unless you pay that. Nobody will show it. Number two, the buyer brokers are expecting it. Number three, the listing agent also wants to be part of the buyer broker thing. So they want to make money from it. Conspiracy continues from the cartel. So let's take advantage of this. Okay. What they've been doing, and let's say in $1 million deal, it's 25 grand. We get paid just under 10. So they get a little over $15,000 in tax-free money because it's just adjusted to the basis of your property. So it's going to get calculated in your capital gains numbers years down the road or whenever you sell. But still, it's tax-free. But here's the thing. You buy a commercial property. Let's say it's $1 million commercial property. It doesn't matter what it is. Industrial, office, apartment building. You can go in and make an offer at $1 million or make an offer at $1 million plus 100,000. Okay, make it $1.1 million. Why? Because you'll then get $100,000 less 9750 back to you, and you'll have that as capital to start the improvements on the property. It's tax-free money, guys. It's crazy not to go through us, especially as a buyer broker. Period. We've just closed on I think it was a 7 or 9 unit apartment building in Mountain View. We're listing a property that is a storefront in San Francisco. So we're getting into commercial. I've done commercial over the years and really haven't pushed this, but we're going to go out and now be available for commercial property. We think it's great. And we can do it in California, Washington, Colorado, Texas. There's a lot of listings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're licensed in Georgia, and yeah, we can get into Pennsylvania at this point, but those are the main places. So I really want to get into.
It's a good way for buyers. I know that there's a lot of people that go on Instagram or their social media of choice, and they hear about how they can become investors and get into the real estate space. For the most part, if you're trying to get like a duplex or a triplex, they're going to be, you're going to have a lot of competition, to say the least, right? So there's a lot of options for where the top floor is a residential and the bottom floor is commercial, which is what's happening in this case in San Francisco. And that's going to have a little bit less competition, but in that you'll probably have a better time as a first-time investor than getting into a residential deal, because if you think about it, a commercial lease, you'll be able to have someone for a longer term, right? So you're not going to have the turnover that you would expect from a regular tenant. And what happens a lot when you're renting a property, and you'll soon realize it. Let's say you put it on the market. Let's say you're going to rent out a property for $3,000. Well, let's say that you price it too high, and you have it for a month and a half empty. And let's say that you get a year lease, and at the end of that year, you have to again turn it over, clean it. You're not really making that rent, right? So it's super limited into that. And if you have to do that over and over, I mean, that's why a lot of long-time landlords decide, hey, I'm not going to price my house to the top of the market. I'm just going to get less than what I could get, because they know that overall in like a 5-year span, you're better off just charging less than like the market rate so that you have loyal tenants. You don't have to deal with that if you're in the commercial space, where it's more normalized to have those 5-year leases, 10-year leases. Obviously, it's case to case. But at that point, there's more of there's less stress in your life. Of course, the commercial space in general is getting affected by the lack of need for office space. So there's a lot of it. But for those that are trying to get creative, and, I think at the end of the day, even if you don't even lease it out, it allows you to have a way to say, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
Right now, with the whole commercial real estate space has been decimated over the last 4 years since COVID. And now with this whole return to work initiative and office spacing, people going back to the actual office, I think that it would be a kind of a key time to start delving into that market or dipping your toe into it.
Yeah. And look into things like the fact that, evictions, if you have someone commercial that doesn't pay, you can get them out pretty quick. And they don't have the rights that a resident does of a space that they live in. So it's a whole different world. Financing's not as good. By the way, we can arrange for that. So, look into it. And there's people already into this space who understand it. That's who we're trying to reach. Don't just pick a regular buyer broker. We're experienced in it. We know what's going on. We know what a cap rate is. And little things like that. So it's just really good to get free money. That's the way we're looking at it and offering that out to people.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about constructing offers. In the pre-show, we were kind of talking about the concept of a reverse offer. So it's intriguing to me that they always say in negotiations, the first person to put out the number is the weaker hand, or is there anything to?
Yeah, we don't call and follow up, hey, what's going on, it just shows that our clients are too interested. But, it could be an interesting thing that the seller, I mean, it's obviously this is case to case, depends on the market. If it's a situation where the market's crazy and you're going to have multiple bids, then this is ridiculous. But if you're in a state or an area that's got very minimal activity and there's buyers out there, but they're not stepping up to the plate, go out as the listing agent, put together the perfect offer that's reasonable that you'd want to be able to give out. So let's say it's a $500,000 property listing, and you as an agent know it's going to appraise for $500,000. But maybe what you do is you go out at, I'm just making these numbers up, $495. Give them a $5,000 credit towards closing costs, settle in 32 days, allow them to have an appraisal contingency, a mortgage contingency, an inspection contingency. Just go out there and line it up. You can even do this in the private remarks of a listing. So it's in the MLS, it's like, look, here's our bottom line. We need these things. We can go a maximum number of days to close. We have to close by this date. But, we're flexible on the price. We do need you to have a pre-approval. It doesn't have to be fully underwritten. We'll give you 10 days for a mortgage. 7 days for inspection or whatever. So it's like you're putting yourself out there, but then it's like having that fully underwritten pre-approval for this giant amount. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're going to bid that much or that the seller is going to say, hey, look, you can afford more. You don't have to sign for that. This is the same on the seller side. It's like, look, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the best I'm going to do. If you don't come out with this, I'm going to counter you with the same thing I just put in here. So
Mhm.
you know what the seller really, really, really wants. It's not for every deal, but it's just a thought. Because if a seller has a bottom line they're comfortable with, why play the game?
Yeah.
Especially in a quiet market, because nobody's going to bid it up to 550.
Yeah.
So just try to get the deal done.
Especially in a quieter market. And I can see the other context where you're a buyer, and this is probably the first thing I thought of. And you do see a lot of the house has been on the market for a while. It's dropped down in price maybe twice, but you're kind of afraid and you don't want to insult the seller with a low offer because you see all the stuff that's needed. The buyer can then say, well, what do you want? Give me an offer. What would the ideal offer
Right.
look like
And
here?
and there's things like the closing date. The seller needs X number of days. So
Mhm.
tell them that so people don't come in longer or much shorter. So it's like, I need till this date. And we go through that all the time on a regular basis. And I think on every deal you should put, hey, this is what the seller needs for closing, or will accept, between 15 and 30 days or
Mhm.
whatever. That should actually be a line item in the MLS. That's optional. Um, are they open to a seller credit? Yeah, depending on the net. It's the same question as you're asking about the buyer broker fee. So it's just making things go a little smoother, a little faster, and you can show exactly what a seller wants. You can always pull it, try it for a week, see what happens.
Mhm.
So
That's interesting. Renee, have you ever utilized the reverse offer tactic?
It's hard to kind of say like, hey, this tactic is going to work all the time. So I think it's just a mixture of using everything,
Mhm.
really. Um, there is no winning tactic. I know that Fred and I always kind of
true.
fight as to like how to do the offers as well.
Mhm.
But it's tough to know. I think what we should always kind of assume is that the people on the other side are not savvy, and that, we are in one of the probably worst industries that can exist because there's no actual requirements. There's
Mm.
in other industries, let's say that you want to work for Google, right? You work for Google, you have to go through an entire interview process. And if you're not qualified, they go with someone else. You're in the real estate industry is filled with everybody who, hey,
They're
let's just
chasing you.
get,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just a volume game of hiring everyone. And the tax code also allows for this, right? A lot of people will have high paying jobs, like let's say a doctor or lawyer or whatever it might be, if their partner does more than 50%. And I think it's like a certain amount of hours per year, they're able to get special treatment for their taxes. There's a lot of tax deductions for that. I should probably have that in front of me so that I can kind of be a little bit more detailed. But that's why the industry is kind of so broken. And it's yeah. I don't want to go into that rabbit hole. Kind of right now
We
dealing
could
with
be
a
here
lot of
forever.
people who, yeah. Well, we're kind of dealing with, and it just sucks because the people who are writing offers in properties that are less than $1 million, they're the ones that are going to be affected the most, because those are the people that have to work with agents that are novice and then realistically won't get offers that or won't get listings and buyers who are looking for the $2 or $4 million houses, because those people know that agents are usually full of, what it really is a consumer that is looking for things under the $1 million range.
Mhm.
And with lower credit scores. It's tough to use negotiation tactics when people just don't follow the rules anyway. So,
It is tough, and
I
that's
don't
where the money is. You talk about no winning strategy, but the total winning strategy is understanding all the context and nuances to make the right decision in each scenario.
know. Yeah. And with that being said, I think that we can look at the stock market, because the stock market has just been dumping the last few days.
Yeah, and
The
every
last
single
weeks,
day.
really.
Everything's been dumping. Even what's odd to me, what's interesting to me, I should say, and I finally heard something today, is the 10-year treasury should be below 4% because of all the people with the flight to quality. When you take your money, you
Mhm.
put it in the US treasuries. Well, what we found out is there's foreign countries that are selling the 10-year treasuries as the safe haven. They're putting it back in their own money at this point because of they don't know what the hell's nobody knows what's going to happen and what's
Yeah.
going on, and things get changed every hour. But the bottom line is the markets are saying like, nah, this is going to be a nightmare with the tariffs and all the other crap that's going on, and they change it every minute. You can't run an economy like that. You can't run a country like that. And, I love these guys coming out, well, there's a correction and it's okay that it goes down, stock market goes down a little because the long term, give me a break. This wasn't like the Einstein of mathematics and economics figuring this out and say, and putting it in chat GPT and saying, here's the plan to keep our economy going and all that. No, this is you by the hip economics.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like,
Well, and
anyway, we're not going to get started. I already predicted the recession, but the interest rate should be lower, but that's why not, unfortunately.
Well, the reason I mentioned the stock market, Fred, is because I was giving you an easy one for you to talk about Redfin.
Yes,
Last
Rocket
time-
Redfin.
Well,
Last time
it's a stock deal. Is Rocket public? I don't know.
Yes. So the only
Okay.
stock that today is like mega green is Redfin because shareholders are getting out with a good return, but Rocket stock was lower today.
Well, it should be because when you acquire somebody, you're paying out money, so you're also giving out a lot more. You gave out $2 billion of stock.
Let's
Where did it
explain
come
what's
from?
going
It's
on.
going to
I
be a
have no
new
idea.
issue. Okay, Rocket bought Redfin for
Oh, crap.
stock. It's like $2 million, something like
God,
that.
it's easy work.
All stock purchase. So they have to issue new stock, so the value of the stock is going to get developed a little bit, and that's why it's down. But I mean, the idea is they want to get, it's all about data. They're going to have every bit of data on every Redfin person, match with every Rocket person. They're going to know when you should refi. They're going to try to and they'll do okay. And we've always liked Redfin and respected them and the model. And I don't know if Glenn's staying with this, or I guess he is, because I don't think Rocket's got somebody they want to put in. I don't know. But it's a beautiful thing. I mean, so what they're trying to do is mix the mortgage and the real estate together as a one-stop shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what we do without advertising it. We do both real estate and mortgages. Now, look at a $1 million transaction. Regular agent charges you $25,000, 2.5%. We charge you just under 10. You've already saved $15,000 on a mortgage. Because the way mortgages work, and let's explain this again very simply, is Fannie Mae puts out their pricing. Basically, everybody gets the same price, every lender, and then they add a margin to it. That margin is always a percentage. So they're going to take, let's say they take 1.5% of the mortgage amount. Okay. And what we do is charge a flat fee of $4,750. So the difference, you do 1.5 of 8,000, that's $12,000. We're charging $4,750. There's $8,000 you saved in what we charge. But the real savings is that means we're going to be 8 to 1/4% lower in interest rate. Just to close that out 10 years, you don't have to go 30. You're going to be saving a hell of a lot of money by using us as, we don't call it a bundle, but you bundle with us.
Yeah.
So
people understand the
this
concept of bundles.
This kind of legitimizes what we're doing, and we're doing it with extreme full service. My new name for it, extreme full service. It just makes a lot of sense. So let me now dive into the dude in Boulder, Colorado, selling his house by himself. I hate realtors on TikTok is his name. He's a marketing guy. He's been in tech. He has a fantastic delivery. He could be giving out the evening news. This is the CBS evening news with whatever his name. No, it's got a great delivery. So what he's done, he's got his house under contract. He made Zillow change their algorithm so that FSBO can be on with every other property in Colorado. It's interesting about the Rex case, who wasn't allowed and went through the court, and the whole 7 hours dissertation on that with lawyers. But allegedly, he's starting his own buyer broker or seller or some kind of fixed price real estate company. And I just want to say thank you to him for justifying what we do. And we are licensed in Colorado. We haven't really pursued it there, but we're going to start. We're actually looking for an on-the-ground agent in Colorado to handle the leads and get business. Go to fairhousing.io for all the details. But yeah, he's between the Rocket, Redfin, and him, they justified our entire model. So, would you go anywhere else?
And to talk a little bit more about Colorado in general. So one of the things that happens in Colorado is that if you are trying to list your property, there's a minimum of work or value that an agent has to do to perform a listing. So let's say that you were trying to hire someone to only do the paperwork. Well, then you can't get a real estate professional to help you, right? It has to be for sale by owner. So there isn't, I know our model, for example, is to do full service. We include everything, right? But there might be one who already has, everything set together, and like, let's say they don't want us to pay for the cleaning, and find cleaners and all that, and have the sellers do that independently. The Colorado legal system doesn't really allow for them. So they want the real estate professionals to be involved in every single thing. So I think it's a good thing. I wonder what this realtors hate me guy is doing in terms of like, how can he operate without a broker that he wants to start a company? So that'd be fun to see.
I don't know. Maybe he has a broker. We have no idea the details.
What's the minimum amount of effort that you have to do though? Is there, you have to track your hours? Like you say there's a minimum amount of things that you need to do to be recognized?
I didn't really read the full ruling on that, but it's mostly you have to say you're going to be full service, right? And the problem is that a lot of these companies that will help you, like let's say in California, you can find companies that will charge you like $4,000 to only do the paperwork and do like one showing or whatever.
Oh, right? You can get $250 and we'll put it on the MLS and do nothing else.
Yeah.
You're stupid to do that. I mean, there's more to it than that. If it was me personally selling my own house and I used to be a broker and I just retired, yeah, I could be able to do it. I can figure it out. But come on.
But you can't do that in Colorado.
Correct.
Colorado have the A to Z and have someone like us, for example, that is full service at a fixed fee to help you. So
very important point, because if you do a search for flat fee real estate, you're going to get two very different type of search results. You're going to get those $500, $250 will list you on MLS. Then you're going to get all the full service like Arrivva that's been leading the way there. And there are two very different ways of going about it. They give the user two very different results.
Without a doubt. But there's just cheap people that would just want to try it. Oh, I don't need an agent, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when you run into ridiculous amounts of problems. The other thing is you don't have access to the forms in California. Colorado, you do, because the state has dictated what the forms are going to be. So it's easy. So it has to be full service, but the forms are there.
The next slide will be in terms of the MLS and clear cooperation that exists right now, because it used to be that even Zillow and Redfin, they would have more data as to showing what a property was listed for and what it eventually sold for. If you go on Redfin and Zillow lately, you won't really find a lot of that. What you will see is that now you have to be an agent and be able to look at the actual MLS to see what the history is. And days in the market, that's something that the MLS has, and then some brokerages are fighting, and that's what they're using as a reason of why you should only sell off market or do their own in-house website. Yeah. So we're going to see a couple of changes, and then I think that theoretically Zillow becomes a new MLS, right? And they have monthly data.
Well, they are. They get the feed from
Zillow is
every
the
MLS.
But in these areas of consolidation, this is a perfect chance for Fred. Perfect chance for the next episode of Fred Predicts. So if Redfin
Glick predicts.
Glick predicts. So if people consolidations teams seem to follow a pattern, and to the layperson like me, I would see Redfin and Zillow being kind of counterparts. If Redfin merges with Rocket, where does Zillow go to differentiate itself or actually add that type
Zillow's
of service?
been there, done that. They advertise. They're competing with homes.com. Homes.com you should avoid with just run. Do not go to that site, and I'll tell you why. Because they will contact you with the listing agent. The listing agent will then try to do dual agency on you. Dual agency is when one person represents both you and the seller. It's like having a lawyer for your drunk driving issue, also be the prosecutor. It's insanity. And they're promoting this. That's their whole business model. Hey, you can talk to the listing agent. But you don't want to talk to the listing agent. And also the listing agent's going to tell you things that they wouldn't tell us, or they would only tell us as agents things because we're smart enough to ask the right questions. So yeah, homes.com is just a nightmare. Zillow will keep advertising. Zillow will keep doing what they're doing. They're paying their 40%, getting their 40% kickback from the agent. So it's costing a client more. Don't sign anything with any Zillow agent. If you accidentally click on something, I want to see the property. Have your buyer broker arrange for any properties to be shown to you.
Zillow has already been doing loans already. And then apart from that, yes. Yeah. So apart from that, Redfin actually laid off. Actually, I find maybe Redfin's not doing as good as we think they are, but Redfin did lay off a lot of their workers who are working on rentals. And Redfin actually signed a partnership with Zillow so that Redfin takes over the rental business. So Zillow is the king of the rental space, and they own Trulia as well, right? So that's how they're the big differentiator, because sometimes, yes, I mean, and then that goes kind of as a cycle, right? If you're renting your property, you're usually a landlord, and maybe when you're thinking of selling, well, you're just going to go directly to Zillow.
Yeah, but Redfin's laid all those people off so they could sell the company. And Zillow obviously, I'm sorry, Rocket didn't want the rentals because they don't make money on mortgages from rentals. So they said, go ahead and do it, cleaned it up, and that's why it happened, I'm sure.
Wow, that's big news today. So as we're approaching the end, let's talk about market conditions. I know he's talked about the stock markets in turmoil. There's not a lot of clarity about where we're going the next 2 to 3 months as far as business and economy wise. How does that going to trickle down into the housing market if people have lost faith in the 10-year treasury note?
Depends where you are. If you're in California, you're still buying. We had a $7 million house that was listed in Los Altos. It had been on the market for a while, and they're kind of refreshing the listing up, set an offer date. Our people bid René
7.411,
and it went for 7.6. Okay, so that stuff's still happening. San Carlos, we had a house in the flats. It was nice, very pretty. I think they're asking 2.1.
Mhm.
Our buyer, first offer bid like 2.3 and felt like they were pushing it. And what did it go for, René? Like 2.5.
So you're going to see a lot more buyers coming into the market. This cycle, it seems that it's more of a normalized market of people like, hey, we went to go to sleep November, December, and now we're awake in the spring market. I think we see that change more clear than the last couple of years. I think that since mortgage rates do seem to be getting lower, that's going to bring back a little bit of the buyers. And you're also going to see a lot of the sellers who have been holding off and are now thinking of selling. As you remember, it is 2025. And what happened 5 years ago? The pandemic. So you do see a lot of those, 5-year financing terms that are, needing to be refinanced. Some people are just
5-year arms.
yes.
Well, most people took fixed rates back then because they were in the twos.
You'll see a lot of people that have just seen how the market kind of has shifted in the last couple of years. I mean, the people who maybe bought it in 2022, right, who maybe changed their mind or they wanted to upgrade their houses and they saw that the rates, were too high and they didn't want to leave their rate behind. Now it's like, hey, look, you know what? Rates seem to have stabilized and they're going lower, and now I make more money. I want to upgrade. So
Right.
you're going to start seeing a lot of more sellers.
Even though the rates went up, the values went up, which is kind of an anomaly, but is where it is. But flip side, if you're looking for a condominium in Cape Coral, Florida, there's, I don't know, 250,000 of them on the market, and you can have your pick, but you can't get them insured. Other than that, it's fine. You might see people coming in and literally taking over people's mortgages illegally, saying, look, I'll just take it over for your mortgage amount and I'll make the payments on the mortgage. And they do a wrapped second mortgage for $1 more than the current first mortgage, and then they make one payment. But, there's a due on sale clause, kids. Careful of that when you're trying to sell a property. Not all mortgages are assumable, but there are illegal assumptions that people do. You might not get a title company to insure it. That might be a problem, but so be careful out there, kids.
Yeah. Like, how would you know? I mean, that it's an illegal mortgage as a consumer?
Because you can get a copy of the mortgage. It's recorded.
Oh.
So you can look at it. Any Fannie Mae mortgage is pretty much not assumable. There are VAs that are assumable, but you might have to make up the difference between the price and the mortgage balance. So, you see these things, hey, 2.5% assumable mortgage. Yeah, it's 450,000. You're asking $1.8 million. So, what good is that? So look at the numbers. The numbers have to make sense.
And sometimes if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
Well, at the end of this episode, we've learned there's no free donuts. The 10-year treasury note is gone to hell.
Wait. You're telling René there's no free donuts?
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good thing.
Oh my God.
So yesterday, there was actually free coffee at Krispy Kreme for the time change. Secondarily, just found out that the Taco Bell dessert churro is gone. So if you guys missed it, didn't go the last month, it's no longer there.
Oh,
it was, I think, the best fast food dessert that I'd ever tasted. So it was
that's saying a lot, because this kid eats Krispy Kreme like there's nothing.
Yeah, so it was a sad Monday. Certainly.
I stand corrected. We did learn that there are free donuts, but dessert churro is off the menu. Well, start your letter writing campaign. They'll bring it back.
Well, okay, I'm at that exciting word. Hey, go birds.
Go birds. This has been We Fix Real Estate with Fred Glick and René Pérez. And that's it.